Welcome, Auriana, as our February Speaker of the Month. And you have the next 30 minutes to tell us a little bit about what you have to offer in the field of holistic healing.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Auriana Silberstern, and today I'm going to talk to you about Transcendence Consciousness. It is based on a piece that I wrote some time ago about the Transcending Unhelpful Consciousnesses themselves. This is a very different approach to what we have been taught or conditioned to, and it is a complete paradigm shift in how to do things, how to move beyond by simply dropping the entire rucksack itself rather than continuing to plow through and leaving things behind once and for all. To really open up the space, free the energies, clear the energies, and bring in light and more opportunities in our life and to grow. So it's based on a piece that I'll quickly read. It is time. It is time to transcend. It is time to transcend certain consciousness like victim, survival, surrender. It is what it is, lack, polarity, poverty. It must be about me, test and initiation. And then there are a couple new ones that I have recently come up with. Sovereignty being equivalent to ego, or ego plus victim consciousness when there's emotion involved. Suffering, sinner, savior, lesser, look outside and above, the single only, and fighting. And there are plenty of others that we have been living by, some of which we consider at times to be positives, positive traits, when instead they're distorted traps that do little but disenfranchise, disempower, disconnect, bind, limit, and weaken us. It is time to transcend and to step into our power as true empowered selves from the within and as true authentic selves. The point and the 0 point, the point of transcendence, the point of transcendence. The time for consciousness is upon us now. And so this is the piece I wrote. And so I'm going to delve into these a little bit since we have half an hour. And then I'm going to give you some practices on how to do it yourself in your own lives and take it or leave it, choose whatever you wish, and then go forth. And like we already talked about before, we are going to fall off the bicycle, stand back as an observer, observe what isn't quite to your liking. And the same thing, if you did something you absolutely like, observe it without emotional content, without judgment, without anything, and then go, okay, I like this, grow it, expand it, and do more. And so when we don't judge ourselves, we don't tear ourselves down and use it as experience and a learning tool, then we tweak something or grow it in whatever form this takes. And then we grow from it and we learn from it, and we are whole and emotionally unaffected by any of this. And then we grow and we practice and we take advantage of the linear timeline in which we live, where the past is in the books. 5 minutes ago, 5 years ago, 5 days ago, 50 years ago, 500 years, it's in the books, can't change it. But our power is right here. We can from now forward and we can change it. And that power resides within us, and it is up to us. So this is a complete paradigm shift in how we operate and how we do things. And so let's go fly. So some of these things that we have been locked in, victim consciousness. We actually, before I get to specifics, have also been trapped in something very important that very few on this planet even recognize, and that's the 1D and the 1D only. That's a unidimensional, the single possibility with a negative polarity spin on an only worse. Why any only at all? And if there is an only in this, that, or the other, why only worse? Why not only better? But in reality, everything happens in this in-between. So why don't we look at the in-between instead of sticking to the negative or to the polarity itself? And then we take a little bit off topic, but polarity itself was distorted into a vertical instead of a opposite, like the true yin and yang. So when we rebalance things as a yin and the yang, even if we keep the polarity construct of opposites, you don't hear judgment here, then we can do things a little differently, and we're happier, and we're also a lot freer and have greater space to do life. So anyway, victim consciousness, and everything in our world works with top, bottom, top, down, vertical. Time to turn it 90 degrees and horizontal, and time to invert things from the outside in to the inside out, like a tesseract effect. So a complete shift in how we do things. So victim consciousness, that's a big one. Everything is poor me, wah, wah, victim, victim, victim. And something happens, bad things do happen. And what happens? We condemn each other and blame the victim, or we blame somebody else. We also are trapped into not only the victim consciousness, where we have a dependency relationship, but, Susan, you wanted some interactive, so I'm making this interactive. Can you all please tell me the difference between the empowered victim and the empowered victim?
Between the empowered victim and what?
And the empowered victim.
Empowered and unempowered?
The difference between the two, empowered victim and empowered victim. Anyone?
If anybody wants to answer, feel free to unmute yourselves.
Okay, the difference, so since we have half an hour, I'll keep it very short and sweet. The empowered victim, which is what we know about and we live in every day, and the empowered former victim is somebody who has been victimized, processes all the emotions, feels whatever they feel, and actually at times, depending on the what, is left with something for a lifetime perhaps, but then goes that extra step. Doesn't wallow in wah, 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 poor me, or not even 1-800 wah, but actually takes action. And I'll raise the example of the gymnasts. Ali Reisman used her platform after she was raped and abused, she and 200 others, perhaps more, by the chief medical officer of USA Gymnastics. For years it went on, people knew, nobody said a thing. She uses her platform to speak up to get that guy thrown in jail. Immediately, oh, wah, empowered victim, wah. Very quickly, she used her voice. Simone Biles spoke up, and then a trickle, and then more and more and more and more, eventually 200. And that guy's now sitting in jail. Here you have the empowered former victim taking action. So this is somebody who belonged in prison. We can apply this at our levels when we change a relationship. We end a friendship, we divorce someone if that's appropriate, we change something within ourselves to no longer tolerate whatever that victimization is. We take our power back, we empower ourselves and simply say no and make some changes. The difference between the empowered victim and the empowered victim. Now what happens? Society only knows this thing called the 1D, the single possibility of what being a victim is. They even condemned Ali Reisman. Wah. No, not at all. This is very strange. What happens in society when people speak up and do something? Well, they're blamed. Then they have victim shaming and all the rest. Okay, how about flipping, doing more empowerment here and not feeling entitled on victimization as something happens? And the only path forward is the entitlement and the dependency and the poor me version. People do not know. Alas, the 1D, the single and only. Our society only knows one version of countless things. That's a whole talk for some other topic. So there we have victim consciousness. We do this all the time. We don't know any different at the subtle and under the hood level. Survival consciousness. I'm keeping these brief because we do only have half an hour. Survival consciousness. We're always believing we have to survive. There's nothing else but survive. It is very close to struggle and suffering. Do we know anything other than that? No, we don't. How about if we toss that out and simply say, I'm not participating in that anymore? Surrender consciousness. We hear about surrender all the time. In the spiritual community, there's a lot of surrender to the flow. That's not flow, that's a distorted version of flow. Flow is when something runs smoothly, not surrender toss yourself into the river, let the river's current take you wherever, batters you about, and you just go, oh, and do nothing. That's not surrender. That means quit. That's another version of quit that goes with the it is what it is. There's a whole lot there. So just not do that. You're the captain of your own ship. Flow is something else. There's been a lot of distortion on planet Earth and our deep programming, deep DEEP programming, and how we and our mindset have been programmed from long before we were born, goes back to intergenerational, and it goes far beyond that. It is what it is. We hear that all the time. No, it isn't. It is what it is when it applies to nature. It's dark, it's warm, it's cold, it's whatever it is for you right now. That's nature applies to you, the tree, the cat, the dog out there. It is what it is. When human has a hand, that means quit. Accept your lot. Don't bother stressing about it. Give up. Accept your helplessness and your hopelessness. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It is the counterpoint to stop thinking, get out of your head, fall into your heart, which is its own set of distortions. We don't think enough. That's our problem here on planet Earth. Lack consciousness is another one we have lived with forever and ever and ever, and continues in distortion land. Lack is often considered a virtue. Lack is something that even the ascetics got wrong and still do for hundreds of years in India, South Asia, etc. The Buddhists, when they believe that to have nothing is the only virtue, is the only way to be service to others. No, it isn't. If you live in constant lack, be it a lack of food, a lack of life, a lack of joy, a lack of anything, and that's what you're focused on, that's what you live in, you're focusing on lack and minimization. Toss that one out into the garbage can. Why lack in a world so abundant? Flip it. Polarity consciousness, that's a big one. It has been distorted. It was intended originally in its design structure to be of opposites. The yin and yang is your classic. In a balanced harmony, the seesaw, the black, the white, like this, and a lot of gray in the middle or colors to do things. And it's about opposite. The original polarity was about opposite. It has been tilted into greater or less, right or wrong, and 10,000 other ways to divide, separate, control, and look at the world out there. Poverty consciousness, that's another one. We actually put it on a pedestal. Oh, you're poor. That's a virtue. Having less. And poverty consciousness is something else, a little offshoot of it. When we limit and delimit having coin as equal to, well, poverty isn't about a lot of other things. It can be not enough love. It can be insufficient this. It can be a bunch of other things. Let's stop living in poverty. Poverty has many meanings, definitions, interpretations. Again, another 1D single only. Poverty isn't only about coin. Poverty is fill in the blank on everything else. Start thinking about making a list on poverty and what it means for you, because it has more than a single definition. It must be about me consciousness, another distortion of personal responsibility. It must be about me? No, it isn't. Sometimes, but not always. There's a classic case that kept banding about. And personal responsibility, there isn't enough of it on this world. Absolutely, people do not take, and there are many reasons for it. But we cannot say it must be about me when something goes wrong. Sometimes it isn't. It isn't you at all. You just happen to be in the room or something else, and you cannot accept blame, shame, or all the other crap that people try to, sorry about the 4-letter word, put on top of you when you're a baby in a crib and you're raped. It isn't about you. You do not need to repent. I've had that nonsense pulled on me. And it's like, no. So let's stop doing this as a society. It isn't all about you. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. And you didn't design it at soul level either. Test and initiation. Every challenge and everything is a test, an initiation. At some point we graduate, we move beyond. Let's not see everything, oh, it must be a test when something goes wrong. Cut it out. No, that's another control and suppression paradigm. Sovereignty. there's too little personal sovereignty in ourselves. And what I recently encountered is that sovereignty equals ego when somebody comes, oh, you're standing on an ego pedestal, you're superior. No, you're not. You're standing in your power, you're standing in your sovereignty. And when there's emotion, how many people have told you, oh, you're in victim consciousness? That means if you're standing in your power and express what you feel about it, you're engaged in victim consciousness? No. That's why people don't speak up. That's why sovereignty is anathema, because people are not in ego, not everybody, there are those who are, and not all are in victim consciousness, and not at every moment. There's no absolutes in any of this. All things exist in our world, within us and out there. Sovereignty, we don't have enough of. Personal sovereignty when we go, I am. So this goes with the tools. Suffering. We live in a world where everything is about suffering. Why? Let's stop suffering. Let's just not play in that anymore. So I wrote the piece, and it's on my blog, on suffering the other day. We live in a senior savior and lesser consciousness mindset. Why do we keep doing that? Why are we lesser to somebody else when every human eats, pees, and goes to the bathroom like every other? Why are we allowing this to happen? Time to say no more, toss it out. Looking outside and above, talked a bit about that. Everything is on a vertical. Why? We have been conditioned from thousands of years ago to look outside and above for legitimization, validation, also dependency structure, while they de-emphasized anything that is from the within outward, and to find legitimacy there. Weakness versus strength and power from within. Invert this and operate this way. The single and the only worse, it's almost like Borg, single possibility definition, narrow definitions of words, all sorts of things. That's its own talk, actually. And fighting consciousness. We have been conditioned that anytime we want something, we must fight for it. And we do a lot of this, but where do we ever hear what our outcome is, what our end state is? We hardly hear that. So now I'll flip it to the what can we do about it and how to transcend on fighting and a lot of other things. Simply bring in something else to occupy the space, and you shrink the operating space of any undesired, no matter what that is in your personal life or any other, like your phone battery. One app open, 100% of the phone battery time. You have 2 or 3 apps open, it adds up to 100, but they all have to share. And then you get this other thing called choice and free will, where you can play in whatever app or whatever field of life you wish, and everybody gets to pick and choose in which one they want. So that is a much better way of operating, where we truly embody free will and free choice, and not the distorted versions of things, where there is an actual difference between pure choice and pure free will. And pure choice and pure free will is uninfluenced. It's not bargained. It's not traded off. People don't get the difference between first, second, third order, fifth order, etc., and the zero-pointed, the source of free will, free choice, whatever that is for you. So what else do we have in how to toss out these consciousness discernments? Is this right in my heart, in my gut, and in my mind? Is this right for me or right for me now? It is yours. It is only yours. It is subject to change tomorrow, the next week. You ask that. You start in your power. There is more than a single only or an only path on everything, from definition to path forward, and none is greater or lesser or more legitimate or less legitimate than any other or any other ones or any other person. So no, choose no longer to participate, and leave the boxes that society has built for us to the cats. They have good use for boxes. We do out of the box what it is for me, inside outward, and every single 7.8 billion humans can do that for themselves, and in their own, once they recognize we have it within us. It exists, like Gary says, it's ragu. It is within us. Yes, seek what you wish, always a positive path. There is no real right or wrong. There isn't. Your life, no one else's. And practice to perfect. Allow, allow yourself something different that you've never done. Be the adventurous one. You can fall flat, but at least you did it. Okay, to fall flat on your face, retreat, go backwards a little bit and step into old patterns. It's okay. Recognize it without judgment, flip it around, get on the bike, etc. We're on the linear timeline, and that's okay. The past's in the book. Don't stress about it. Just next. Observe from a dispassionate observer. That's a key. You become the observer, observing yourself without judgment. And you ask yourself why it happened, what just happened. And then you tweak whatever that is the next time to expand what you liked or to turn something you didn't quite like. You just do it the next time and let all the other go. Couple more things. I am. Yes, you are. Every single one of us is. So it is the I am. Take your power back as the I am. There is no other you, so just be you. Even an identical twin, at most similar. There is no other exact same, no other you. As a general, and yesterday's, tomorrow, the next weeks, you are you, a new you every moment. Go forth with that. Rumi's field. If you have disagreements, agree to disagree, or meet in Rumi's field, the one beyond all right doing and wrongdoing, you may attempt to sway one another in some direction or another. That's possible. And you can also simply say, we agree to disagree. You live in harmony and happiness, and you go about, and you can still be best buddies. And you just agree to disagree on A, B, or C. Where were we? Quality, not quantity. It's all about quality. You ask yourselves also, is this right for me? Not what it was last week or whatever it is about now. And it is not your way. It is your way. It is not your way or the highway based on somebody else's decision of whatever external, be it a human, an avatar, a rule, a time thing, how long it's been in place, doesn't matter. It is your way. And it is your life and no one else's. And the last thing, love yourselves, beautiful beings, and be nice, be sovereign, be strong, and including be nice, strong, and sovereign with yourself. And now go forth in light, in joy, in happiness, as your sovereign self, as your I am, and go live life from now forward how you want to build your lives.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
That was very special, Auriana.
Thank you so much.
I'm recording right now.